In this lesson, we are gonna take a look at array functions. It's an essential knowledge when it comes to JavaScript functions. Learning them, comprehending, and even unlocking the full potential of this specific topic. So with all that being said, once again, it's really important, so watch this video to the end. Before we dive deep into array functions, let's make sure we've got the proper format selected. So instead of string, we've got array, and now we can just provide our variable, which is this one. And let's type the dot, and we've got a bunch of different options. And the first one is length. And overall, what it does, it returns for us the number of elements we've got in the array. So simply, if I go ahead with the length, I can see I've got an array and I've got 4 items, so simply the number is 4. It's pretty straightforward, it's very intuitive, and it can be really useful in some specific cases if you want to just maybe create some condition or do other different things. Next, what we have is last. So simply, you can just guess, we retrieve the last item from an array. So in that case, we'll have Zapier. And also it works this way when we type first. So we just get the first item in an array. Also, it's pretty useful in some cases, so you can just use it and just test it out. Then what we have, we are going very fast. We have includes. So we've covered it actually with the previous other formats. And simply what you can do, you can just check if this array contains, let's say, an item. It contains in the array with the index number 1. So it's true. However, if I type something like Midjourney, like the value will be false. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy to use, and it works similarly as we had, for example, with the string functions. Next, we've got a map and filter. However, we'll cover them later because they are more sophisticated, and also we'll combine it with something called, where do we have it? Reduce, okay? So we'll cover them later. But let's move on to append. And simply this JavaScript function allows us to append some specific, another array, okay? If that makes sense, another item in an array. So simply what we can do, we can just type here, I don't know, maybe let's go ahead with Google, whatever, and then we appended this specific item right here at the end. Also, we can type comma and just append another item. So for sure, we can provide something like opera, I don't know. And then after we execute the step, we've got 2 new items inside our array. Additionally, what you can do with append is to actually add an object to your array. So simply what we can do, we can open curly brackets and now provide a name, and here colon, and just provide a value, which is, let's say, Christian. And then we've got actually our object created inside our array. The next function we have is chunk, and it's pretty effective, I mean useful. So simply we provide a chunk, and then we can just chunk and create sub-arrays based on the arrays we have. So let's say we've got 2 arrays, actually 4 arrays, I'm sorry, right here. And now I can chunk them by 2. So simply we'll have 2 sub-arrays created. If I execute it, I've got sub-array and 2 items inside, so ChatGPT and NIDN, and another sub-array, which is Notion and Zapier. So it's pretty nice. If I go ahead with 3, actually it sorts it this way. So we are lacking 2 elements, so items inside the second sub-array, because we have only 4 items here. But it's pretty nice, so we can just chunk your specific arrays into just chunks. Another pretty useful function is compact. So let's say hypothetically I have here an array, so let me delete it, and then I can create an array. So simply maybe let's provide Christian, then just leave it blank, and then we can just provide another name, so John, another name, or even just leave it blank, and another name, which is, I don't know, Stefan, okay? And now, as you can see, I've got 2 kind of items that are blank, actually arrays. And then what it does, it avoids them, just don't include in the final answer. So it cleans up our array from just blank values. And then it returns only these we've got fulfilled. So we've got Christian, John, and Stefan. And it's pretty nice. I mean, here you can look how it works, even if we have the numbers. So it kind of cleans our data from just empty values. Or even if you have, let's say, you've got inside null, it works also this way. So once again, I can say it's really great whenever, let's say, maybe you've got some response from AI, you've got some array, and then you want to make sure that you don't have the blank spaces. In that terms, you can clean the data with compact. So yeah, that's totally great. Let's move on to the next function, which will be concat. So simply what we can do actually with it, we can just provide another item inside our array. So once again, maybe I can provide J, all right, or even let me provide something like some name. What's the name? N, okay? And simply you can join one or more arrays onto the end of the base array. Also remember, you can provide some numbers. So let's say 5, or even let's take some random number. So 212, and yeah, you can do it this way. Concat is pretty useful, and we've covered it with the previous different formats of functions. The next thing we have is a difference. And now basically let me provide an array of, I don't know, maybe numbers. So I can go ahead with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And basically if I provide here the square brackets, actually I can provide some number. So simply I can provide 3. And now what it does, we take actually the first array. So this is the default one. And then what we say, all right, provide all of these items despite the items we have inside these brackets. So actually it should be different. If we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there we've got 3, this is the same as this value, therefore it's not provided inside. If we had here, let's say 2, guess what? 2 disappears inside our initial array. Simply, if we have, let's say 6, now nothing happens. So we may have, for example, like, I don't know, 8, 9. But simply when we add also here, let's say 9, like nothing happens. So once again, but maybe we add 10, it appears. So I think it's great. I mean, for checking if you don't have unnecessary values inside your array. So yeah, maybe it's useful for you in some specific case. But once again, I really love this specific JavaScript function. Let's move on. And next we've got actually, let's see, we've got find. Basically, now what we can do, we are just providing the name of the value. That can be the item, that can be even the letter if you wish, but we've got the numbers at the left. But basically it's for the JavaScript to understand it. And now what we can do, we can simply make letter it's bigger than 5, okay, or even 3. So we have the first item which is bigger than 3. And maybe for the confusion, let's just rename it as the number. But actually you search for the first value that matches the condition. You want to check if the number is not equal to 1. So you can type the exclamation mark and equals, I guess. And now 1. Yeah, so we've got 2. Now if you type, let's say 2, you will have 1. Or basically what we can do. Yeah, actually it works this way. So yeah, you just check for the specific condition. Also here you've got the explanation. So let's say right there, let's see. We've got name length, which is like the characters is just the amount of the characters is just lower than 5. Then we return the name that meets this condition. So yeah, I think it's great for finding the item. We'll have other function basically to do this stuff. To actually return for us the entire array despite some specific values that are not meeting our condition, but about it later. Afterwards, we've got the JavaScript functions that are first and last. So basically, it does what you think. It returns the first item in an array, or simply when you type last, it returns the last item. It's simple as that. Then what we have is actually, let's see, we've got indexOf. So also we've covered it previously. So simply if you go here, you've got indexOf. Let's say you can search for an then. Okay, so the index is 1. If you search for, let's say, Notion, then the index is 2. But if you search for ChatGPT, so if you type ChatGPT, exactly, the index is 0. We covered it later, actually previously in other videos. Then we've got intersection. And basically, it does the opposite thing as the difference. So simply, if I go ahead to difference, maybe let me take this specific value. So simply, I can go here, just provide it. And now, as you see, actually, we subtract kind of the elements that we indicate inside the square brackets after the difference. So simply here, if we had in the initial actually array we base on, we had like 1, 2, 3, and then we just search for 2, 3, and we kind of take unique element, which is 1, which is only here. For the intersection, we just take the elements that are both that are in both kind of options, okay, and kind of two places. So this place and this place. So if we had here 2 and 3, 1, 2, 3, and there we have 2, 3, we would have in the final array only 2, 3. So kind of we check for the values that we provide inside. It's also pretty cool, so it's kind of works opposite as the difference, but once again, it can be useful for you. The next thing, let's move on, is empty. So we just check if the array is empty or not, or even I believe we've got is not empty. Yeah, we've got is not empty. Yeah, so we just check if the array is not empty. Pretty straightforward. Let's move on. And what we have next is join. So basically, we just combine our array, I guess, into a string. So if we read here, yeah, we just combine into a string, and then we can just provide a separator. So maybe you would like to combine them by plus. Okay, simply here, I believe. Okay, if I do it like this, let's do it this way. Yeah. Okay. So we can just combine them by just plus and turn it into a string. Maybe you would like to provide something like this, or just I don't know, www. Yeah, and we've got something which looks like a grass, and there we've got random numbers, whatever. But basically, this function works this way, so it joins it joins our array into a string, and you just provide the separator, which is pretty useful. The next function we have is merge, and what it does, actually, it combines two objects into one array. So if we had previously, like, let's say, some sub-arrays, so let's say 2 sub-arrays with some items inside, we'll just combine it into one array. Basically, let me take this specific value and let me show you it on this example. So if I have it, as you can see, I have like the name Nathan, age 42, and we just merge it with city Berlin and country Germany. So we can execute the step. Actually, what's wrong right now? Basically, what's wrong? We've got an object, but yeah, we just missed the function. So it's merge, I believe. Or even right here, maybe merge. There is something wrong, I believe. So for now, what we can do, we can just ignore the type conversion errors. And yeah, so simply if we had previously, let's say, like 2 sub arrays, we just combine it together. So we just create one array with items. And it works this way. Simply, you can just read also here other different variations, like click on, where do we have learn more? Like we don't have it, whatever. But it works this way. So if you have 2 different objects, you can turn it into one object, basically an array. Okay, so let's go back. And now what we have is, let's see, we've got pluck. which is really useful. So as you can notice, it returns an array containing the values of the given fields in each object of the array. So if I have two objects and the first one contains course, which is the item, value and item, students, and the second one contains course and ratings, I can just get the specific value for some item. So simply, let's say I want to retrieve the course, okay? And from these two objects, I will get the names for the courses. So I've got anytime and mid-journey. Similarly, if I want to retrieve something like rating score, I can do this. So do it this way, and I've got the score. So plug is pretty useful once again, and actually, yeah, you can do the specific stuff. As you can see, for example, here what we have, we've got name Nathan, age 40, M2, name Jan, city Berlin, and we can plug only age. So we get only the age from these objects. Once again, pretty useful, you can use it. And now let's move on to another function. Next, we have something called random item. Simply, we just get random item from our array. So in that case, we've got Notion, but every time it changes. So whenever it's triggered, it changes. So it takes just random item. Pretty simple, nothing to add. Then what we have is reduce. However, we'll cover it later. We've got rename keys. So maybe let me go back to the previous example. And now simply what I can do, I can provide rename keys. And then just take the first key, which is for that case course. And now simply rename it with the class in that specific case. So now instead of the course and these two objects, I've got class. So you can see here, or even maybe, yeah. Instead of the students, right there, I can provide people, I don't know. So as you can see, it works this way. You can just rename your keys. However, the values are just staying, but you can just rename it. If you execute the step, you've got here the people instead of the students. Or even as we did, we've got right there the course, and we rename it with class. So now it will change. Let's see. Yeah, so we've got a class. Next function we have is reverse, and it randomizes our order of items inside our array. If I go here, as you can notice, I firstly had here ChatGPT and I then Notion Zapier in this order, but I've got Zapier, Notion, and I then ChatGPT. So we just reverse everything right there inside our array. Pretty straightforward, once again, nothing to add. Now we have the function called slice. So let's say basically I want to have only a few items inside my array, and now just subtract others. And here I'm working on the indexes. So basically, if I want to subtract, only take, let's say, NA and Notion, just cut Zapier and ChatGPT, I need to provide a start, which will be index 1, because NA has index 1, so we start from this specific index. And then what we do, we just end on index 3. So simply we also cut Zapier. We say, okay, we just cut also Zapier and we only get indexes, which is 1 and 2. It works this way, and basically also you can see it on numbers. So if I wanted to have 3 and 4, I need to type in the slice 2 and 4 because actually we start, actually this is index 0, index 1, index 2. We start with the index 2, which is 3 for now. And then what we do, we just end on index 4. On index 3, however, we just end on the index 4 because we want to subtract the index 4 also. And we've got 3 and 4. Hope you understand it. The next thing we have is, let's go here, is smart join. And it's kind of more sophisticated. So it creates a single object from an array of objects. Each object in the array provides one field for the returned object. Each object in the array must contain a field with the key name and a field with the value. So let's go back to our example with the courses. However, simply here I changed students' ratings to students. So we've got two matching key fields. So this is the course, the value which is NA, and the students. And in the second object also we've got a course and students. And now basically what I can do, I can type smart join, and now I would be able to just combine the values of the key fields I have inside. So I've got the key field, which is course and students in both objects. However, now how it will look like, it will look like we've got the NIDN and there only the number of students. So simply I can type here the first value, which is course, and the second value, which is students. And now I've got the object, and as I said, we've got NIDN, so the course, and number of students here, and also we've got mid-journey and number of students. Basically, let me go here. So it works this way. We've got an array, the name of the course, and the students here, the value. It's more advanced. You can go there, read more about it. However, I'm not sure if I ever used this specific function, because for me, it's nothing really attractive to use. But basically, you can do this stuff, so I'm showing you everything right now. Next, let's go back to our previous example. Pretty fast. Whatever. Let's just delete it. Just provide an array and see what we have next. So we have our sort option. And also it's something I'm not using really often, but actually what it does, it lets you to sort your array in an alphabetical order. So simply if I had here, let's say, basically some values, apps, let's provide something like this, apps or other word that starts with chat GPT, for example, or another word that starts on big. Like it sorts everything in an alphabetical order. Maybe it's something useful for you. For me, it doesn't matter in most cases. I'm using it very rarely. However, you've got this option to use. Afterwards, there is a function called toJSON_string. And it's the same as JSON_stringify. This is one of my favorite functions, inside NIDN, because it allows us to take our array and just make it as a string. So in that case, you don't need to, let's say, do other stuff to just, use, for example, like feed your agent with the text. And yeah, basically you just type it and you turn your string, your array into a string. And once again, it works as the JSON_stringify. Then we've got the function which is toSpliced that allows us to add or remove some elements based on the index. So we'll be working on the index. And now I can simply specify where I would like to start. So let's say at index 1, so here, and now remove one element. So I will be removing the notion in that specific case. So we have ChatGPT, Zapier, and NIDN because simply I started from index 1 and I removed only one item. If I wanted to remove also Zapier, I would click on 2. And also if NIDN, I would click on 3. But basically, we can also add items at the specific position. So I can add item at the index 2, so before notion. And now I can just type here comma and just add the item, which is Google. Okay. Also, what's really crazy, I can remove at the same moment some item. So basically, I remove here 2 items after index 1, but it's a little tricky because it doesn't take the item we already added. So for that case, actually Notion has the index 1, so it takes Notion and removes 2 items afterwards, actually including Notion, if that makes sense. It's not that easy to comprehend, but however, I hope you know what it does. Like this example, it's really advanced, I can say, but simply if you stick with it, actually you can add specific values by the index or even remove as you wish. So we just provide 2 numbers. Oops, we just provide here 2 numbers. And then you just basically operate on your array. Next, we have the function which is called union. So maybe inside, let me provide some numbers, 1, 2, 3. And now let me provide here some numbers. So 1, 2, 3. This way, what's wrong? Okay, we need to provide the square brackets right there. Okay. And now what we simply do, we just remove any duplicates. So like this specific function treats two arrays as one, basically, and we remove duplicates. So if we have here 1 to 3, 1 to 3, we only include 1 to 3, and that, if that makes sense. If we have here, let's say we add here 4, or even 5, 6, and now basically here we just provide 5, nothing happens, so we don't just include here just 5, okay? It's pretty niche function, but maybe it's useful for you in some specific cases. Basically, I don't use it. More, I use the option which is the last one, I mean from this list. However, later also we've got 3 functions we just missed previously. But for now, the function I want to talk about is unique. So simply what you do, if you have, let's say, array with some duplicates here inside. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 4. We don't include, in that case, by using this specific method, we don't include 4 and 2. Once again, if I have here 10, we include it, but if I provide, once again, 10, like we don't include it. It works this way, but if I remove this specific function, like you see, we've got all of the values. Okay, so now let's go back to last 3 functions. So map, filter, and reduce. Let's start with the first one. And basically, map is really useful in a lot of cases, because what it allows you to do is to format your entire array. So simply, if I choose it, I've got the item, so I've got my items, ChatGPT, Notion, Zapier, and Aiden. And now what I can do, I can just turn it into the uppercase, okay? So simply uppercase, and then I've got all of my values in uppercase, okay, format. If I had here, let's say a number, so let me move here. I can provide some specific number. So 1, 2, 3. Now basically, I can perform some operation. So maybe I would like to add to each value 5. And then I've got 1 plus 5 equals 6, 2 plus 5 equals 7, etc. So 3 plus 5 equals 8. But maybe I would like also to multiply it by 3. So now I've got other values. So I can perform some operations. If you go here, for example, you can see like you can do multiple different things. But basically you can format your all of your items inside an array, which is totally great. Once again, you can do something with it. So maybe what you can do else? Maybe divide by 2, whatever. I guess maybe it's this way. I don't know. Yeah. So, but basically, you know how it works. You can perform some different actions and just modify your entire array. Next, we have filter, which is also super useful. So maybe let me add some other numbers, like do it this way. And now what I can do, I can simply like pick the item and only return the values that are bigger than 3. Okay, so we've got our values, which is 521, 42, 21. But if I provide the values, I want to search for the values which are less than 3. I will have only 1 and 2. Yeah, it works this way. Also, when it comes to other things, you can check, for example, let's say for name length. So basically, if I have here some values, maybe let me provide like Christian, I don't know, John, and Stefan, once again. Sorry with the small letters. But if I go here and I just provide this item, length is less than 4, maybe. Length, okay, probably. Yeah, maybe this way, I guess. It's less than 5. So we've got here the John. But if I provide here, let's say 10, I've got all of the names because I've got Christian, John, and Stefan. So filter is pretty useful. You've got a lot of conditions. Even I believe here you can learn more. So you've got all of the different you've got all of the different information, how you can use it. So also remember, we are just covering some specific functions, not that deeply. For sure, if you just go here, you can expand your possibilities with some different options. And the last function we'll cover in this video is reduce. And it's pretty sophisticated because what you do inside, you actually create your very own function and functions. And to be honest with you guys, I'm not into it. Actually, I don't even comprehend it that well when it comes to just more sophisticated functions. But basically what you do, you just specify here the parameters, and then you just perform some action, okay? So basically, if I go here, I provide it this way. Let's say I do a plus b, or maybe minus. In that case, it will be different. How it works. Basically, A refers to the first number, and B refers to the second number. And what we do, we just, maybe let's provide add, yeah. Then what we do, we just add 1 to 2, so it's 3. Then we take this 3 number and we provide it here kind of. So we add 3 plus 3 equals 6. Then we've got the 6, and we just take the next number. So 6 plus 4 equals 10. And at the end, we take the 10 and we just count 10 plus 5 equals 15. Basically, we can provide other calculations. So maybe let's say we do it this way. So A multiplied by B plus C, so we just go over. 1 multiplied by 2 plus 3 equals 5. Then we take this 5 and we continue. So what we have, 5 multiplied by 3 plus 4, I believe. Then we've got this number and we continue until the end. So I believe it works this way. But you know, when it comes to more complex functions, it's really sophisticated. And to be honest with you guys, I need to mention I've never used it before. Actually, it's very niche. It's very it's really sophisticated JavaScript function. And I don't see the circumstances when we need to use it. But basically, it's worth to know that it exists. Maybe in the future, you know, in some specific situation, you would need to use it in some specific terms. So basically, this video was pretty long. Thank you for all of you that watched this material to the end. I really appreciate it. And for now, you know a lot of useful array JavaScript functions. Also remember, if you wish, in the future, you can come back to this video to recall some information, to just remind yourself some important JavaScript functions. And for now, I can say that's everything. Thank you for watching this material once again, and I will see you in the next lesson.